Hello, Gems. My name is Bushnell. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I talk about femininity, personal development, and mindset. And if you're already part of the tribe, darling, welcome back. This month, a lot of people are talking about love, and I thought I'd jump in by discussing about femininity over seduction. So, the first thing I have to point out is manipulation is just plainly wrong. You know, how you get something is how you're going to have to maintain it. And if you got someone by manipulating them, then it's obvious that you're going to have to continue manipulating them throughout the relationship for the relationship to be maintained. You know, using silence, withdrawal, sexuality, or emotional games to control outcomes is deception, and that, my darlings, is not femininity. And imagine you're going to have to be maintaining all these games. You're going to have to be trying to maintain a lifestyle to maintain these manipulation tactics. And you're honestly not going to even have a healthy relationship with self and even with the person. And you're going to be in such an insecure space. So I have to point out manipulation is just plainly wrong. The second thing is femininity does not require sexualization. People think that modesty and dignity are repression. Well, they're not. They protect self-worth and they encourage respect rather than objectification, which is something you'll notice has been happening a lot. When you look at music videos, some commercials, they objectify women. But a lot of the women that are highly respectable and have gone down in history and will always go down in history as very feminine women like Jackie O or, Meghan Markle, Kate, and so many other women. They aren't really sexual and yet they're known as feminine. Feminine women just by how they carry themselves, how they dress, and how they hold themselves up to dignity. So we have to stop this whole ideology of modesty and dignity are repression. Now, I have to go to the third thing, which is seduction bypasses discernment. When the goal is attention or commitment at all costs, red flags are ignored and poor character is excused. So this is the place where you find somebody ends up in a relationship where the man is abusive, or they settle for a certain level of potential whereby the woman ends up taking the role of the man, where she feeds the home, she's a protector, she's the provider, and then she ends up getting resentment. And then, there's cheating, there's all those things. Because you know what? Well, you bypassed so much. Right now, there's a story happening in Africa of the Russian man who has been spreading HIV and AIDS to women who he sleeps with by the first night. And these women just ignore the red flags. They ignore probably the poor character. They don't want to take time to get to know this man before sleeping with him. And now the repercussion is what? The repercussion is, well, their faces are all over the internet. And unfortunately, they probably have an STI/STD, right? Why? Because you know what? They all went in with a different mindset, with thinking that, they've gotten the bag, and probably other reasons as well. But that's a really awful example of how bad it can get when you bypass red flags and you ignore poor character. Because why? You are trying to be seductive. Okay, point number 4 is femininity is rooted in character and not in tactics. I'd say true femininity flows from integrity, kindness, self-control, wisdom. There's bits and attributes of nurturing. When you look at the attributes of femininity, right? This is not rehearsed behaviors that's like it's meant to be, provoked. Your feminine nature is who you just tap into because that's who you are, right? You naturally see a baby as a woman and you want to cuddle them. So you naturally see certain situations and behave in certain manners because you know what? You're a feminine woman. It's not you having to be tactful. It's not you having to rehearse, right? That's the true essence of femininity. It comes from within. we have to go to the next point, which is seduction prioritizes control, while femininity prioritizes connection. We see this in how seduction seeks power over the other person, which is completely not feminine. While femininity seeks mutual respect, understanding, and love. Femininity is about this bonding, getting to know the person. And I don't know why we've had to have a lot of people come up and just lie that that's the actual femininity, manipulating people. Femininity is charming, it's a darling, it's loving. And I believe if you want to just see a true essence of femininity is how a woman reacts when they're with their young one, right? Seduction is it's like a corruption of some sort to what femininity is. And when you see women who were seductive in the Bible, like Delilah and Jezebel, the connotation isn't really good. They used their feminine essence as a weapon against the men. I think this is my second last pointer, and that is the world is twisting femininity for profit. We see many coaches package manipulation as high value femininity, quote unquote, to sell courses, not to build healthy women or relationships. And I'm gonna have to point out here women like Shara Seven. Unfortunately, I fell into her traps and listening to her. But honestly, what she's basically doing is witchcraft, manipulation. You're using your femininity as a weapon against men. That's not how God created us. That's the fallen state where we saw Adam accusing the woman, and the woman, there was the tension that came from something what God built was supposed to be beautiful. So I'm going to close it off with this. Emotional maturity is feminine. Regulating emotions, expressing needs clearly, and setting boundaries are signs of growth and not hardness. Don't expect men to read your mind. Don't have to manipulate them. If you just speak, if you just communicate, something that is an attribute of women, communication, right? So learn how to communicate effectively about your thoughts, about what you think, about how you think things should be done, etc. That's femininity, not playing mind games, right? It's so ghetto and anti-feminine in nature. You'll be going anti your nature, right? Of course, it's good to put discernment and understand that there's some people who are tactful, but that's why you lean into your intuition as a feminine woman, leaning into your discernment as a child of God. So those are just the things I wanted to clear up real quick during this month where a lot of people are discussing about love. Just debunk clearly that seduction is not femininity, and you don't need to be seductive to be feminine, because your feminine nature is who you are.